Welcome to the Made in Heaney exam game plan video series. This next session will cover the topics of dealing with anxiety, stress and failure. Failing postgraduate exams is extremely difficult to deal with. It is natural to have a whole range of negative feelings and thoughts when you hear this news. It can have major implications on your training progression, your personal life and self-worth. As a healthcare professional, you've already been very successful and achieved a lot of academic success. So in some cases, it can be the first time you have failed an exam. It's important to allow yourself some time to process these thoughts and feelings before moving on to a more positive mindset. Albert Ellis developed the ABC model to help us understand our reaction to adversity. He described how our beliefs as a result of an adverse event have consequences on our subsequent behaviour. In his book, The ABC of Fear, he talks about the model. So A is the activating event. So in this example, I have failed the exam. B is belief, false or negative belief. This exam is so unfair, it's just full of trick questions. C is consequences. This is just an impossible exam to pass. He went on to suggest the method to deal with this hindering thought is by disputing that negative belief and replacing the thought with a positive alternative. So D in the model is dispute. What is your evidence that negative belief is wrong? For example, many people do pass the exam even though it is challenging. E is energizing alternative. So this is a more balanced positive thought. For example, I was only 5% away from the pass mark, so there were lots of things that I got right. For example, a trainee that I was coaching told me that her trainers thought badly of her because she'd failed the exam. Because her offer to fill a gap in the weekly teaching programme was not accepted, and instead someone else who had the exam was chosen. I asked her to consider whether it was more likely that the trainer had chosen the first person that volunteered. She realised that she had no other evidence that the trainers thought badly of her, and actually had several examples of sympathetic comments and offers of support. And because she had bought into the negative self-taught, she had blocked out the evidence of all the support that had been offered to her. And using this model helped relieve her of that burden and allowed her to gain the confidence to ask for that help and advice. Constantly replaying the exam in our heads and reliving all the negatives that were associated with it with a catastrophic lens has a similar impact on our confidence and self-belief as multiple occasions. What this means is failing once and replaying it in great detail a dozen times in your mind has the same impact on your confidence as failing it 13 times. And you can see how the pressure then builds to impossible levels. It's important to keep a sense of perspective that humour is a great way to reduce stressful thoughts around the exam, particularly on the day. So, for example, choose a favourite superhero and devise a funny statement to keep in your mind. I am Thor. I will smash this exam with my hammer of preparation. It's really silly, but it distracts the brain, brings a smile to your face, and lowers the stress level slightly. Think of ways that you can develop your own story or your own thought that will help with this. Collins and McNamara found that top athletes had rocky paths to success that included setbacks, failures, and disappointments. However, This led them to develop really useful skills that they found directly contributed to their future success. Steve Bull describes the process for working our way through our reaction to negative feedback or stress. He talks about 3 different zones: red for emotional, blue for thinking, and green for behaviour. So the red areas are shock, anger, denial. The blue thinking area is rationalisation, and the green behaviour is moving into acceptance and then identifying actions. He recommends developing strategies to help us move through the red and blue zones so that we can make this feedback or this experience work to develop our skills further in the green zone. However, note, it isn't possible when dealing with failure, disappointment and setback to not have to go through those red and blue zones. So trying to move straight to the green action zone is actually putting extra pressure on ourselves. When we encounter disappointment, it's all too easy to slip into external justification by blaming issues beyond our control, such as the exam is impossible. It's full of esoteric questions I'm never going to get in real life. It's natural to spend some time in this zone, but the path to success is enhanced by moving from internal justification, identifying factors within our control. For example, I didn't actually start revising early enough, or I spent too much time on the topics I found most interesting. Carol Dweck's work on fixed and growth mindsets is very applicable in this situation. She described a fixed mindset as assuming that our character, intelligence and creative ability are static givens, and that success is an affirmation of inherent intelligence, and failure must be avoided at all costs to maintain that self-sense of being smart or skilled. But in contrast, a growth mindset thrives on challenge and sees failure as a springboard for growth and stretching our existing abilities. Dweck found that although we naturally will be inclined towards a particular mindset, we can adapt our thinking process to apply a growth mindset by using some of the strategies that we've already discussed. Finally, consider what barriers or challenges you're already facing in preparing for the exam. Think of it as a bucket filled with boulders. Look into that bucket and consider how many boulders you've put in there yourself. How many can you take out? How many could you reduce in size? There are many highly successful individuals who can find it difficult to pass a postgraduate exam. And sometimes we just hit a brick wall and we really don't know why. Techniques that we've used previously fail us, and then we run the risk of repeatedly failing. But we hope the strategies that we have recommended in this session are useful for you, and we wish you the very best of luck.